Hey guys, it's Jonathan here and welcome to Everyday Mining. The purpose of this channel is to share my journey as a miner and also to provide helpful tips and tricks and insight into how to do this for yourself. This is something that I've been doing in my own life for about a year, and I've been able to help a few people as well, friends of mine who have been interested in this. And so I want to provide a place where everyone can come and figure out the basics of how to build it. I'm not an expert in any of this, but I have built several mining rigs, and it's been a big learning curve for me. And I hope that I can make the learning curve a little bit easier for you guys. So just to share a little bit of the story of my mining journey, years ago, I tried mining on a gaming laptop I had. It was a really high-end gaming laptop, quite a power hog though, overheated a lot. It did have so-so ventilation, but when I tried mining, I don't know what software, how I mined, but I remember in the end figuring that the electricity costs were about the same or greater than the amount of mining revenue I was making. And so it just made no sense to do it. And at the time I didn't have the money to build a dedicated mining rig, nor was I very interested in doing that, make that kind of substantial investment. And so I sort of forgot about mining, moved on. And then in the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, I ended up building my very first custom PC, and it was a fantastic experience. I really loved it, and one of the components in my PC was a graphics card. It was really nice, and not the very latest, but it was a 2070 at the time, which was a year old, and I started mining again, and I realized that it was making me money. I was using at the time it called a T-Rex miner on Windows, and so I kept doing it, and it started paying off my tower. And I realized, hey, maybe I should buy a bunch more of these graphics cards and really make some serious money with it. And so that's exactly what I did. So at the beginning of 2021, I built my first rig. You can see it here. It was 8 3080s, which are NVIDIA graphics cards. They're the real money makers. The rest of the parts of this thing are just to tie it all together and make the whole thing work. But the colorful things you see at the top, that's really what matters in a mining rig. And so I built it, and it started making me money and paid for itself quite quickly, faster than I thought, because of market changes that happened at the same time. And so when it paid itself off, I thought, well, either I can pocket this money or I can go and reinvest and build the business bigger and bigger, which is what I decided to do. Because during this whole time, and even to the present, I'm working a full-time day job, and this is not my occupation, but it's also a way of diversifying my sources of income. So then I decided to buy a bunch more graphics cards and build more rigs. At the time, frames were getting really expensive. The frame is the metal or wood structure or aluminum that holds all the pieces together and contains it. And because of the prices, I ended up having recently got a 3D printer, and so I printed off a 9-sided rig, and I put the power supply in the middle, and then one side had a motherboard, and I put 8 graphics cards all the way around it, and it worked really well. There were a couple little tweaks I had to make, but to print one of these things was just a fraction of the price of purchasing a proper rig. And it did have some flaws. It wasn't stackable. There were negative things about it. But then in 2021, we had a heat wave come through, and all of a sudden my house was just getting so hot. I mean, everyone's house was hot, but my house was even hotter because I had all these machines generating heat in my house, which during the winter in the early part of 2021 was a blessing, but now it became a curse. And so I bought the proper rigs because then the frames, because they were stackable, and I ended up buying a grow tent, which is meant for plants, but I would stack my mining rigs inside of it, and using ventilation, I'd pump all the air outside to keep the house cooler. So that way, all the heat from the rig was going straight outside the house, and only negative pressure was drawing outside air in, which made things a whole lot better. And those also started to pay themselves off, and I was able to expand a little bit, and it was fantastic. And so now I am still in the process of expanding. I'm sort of always ever expanding slowly as the prices, whenever the prices aren't too outrageous for graphics cards. So yeah, that's my story, and I hope that this channel can be of help to some of you as you potentially start your own journey. I'd like to provide you guys with not only tips and tricks for building these rigs and the best parts to get when you're on a budget, but also how to analyze the market a little bit and provide live updated spreadsheets, things like that, so that you guys can see how the profitability is doing and find GPUs faster. And hopefully this can be a benefit to you. Thanks for listening, and see you guys next time.